kiddies. It's your old pal, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper, and you're listening to Video Store Clerks Podcast.
Welcome to the store.
Are you dead?
Dad.
Are you dead? You saw it there. We are doing the Monster Squad this evening. A one we've been wanting to do for quite some time, and we're just now finally getting around to checking it out, even though we checked it out. Finally. Just in time for the change of the season. As of next week is October, so we are getting ready to indulge into our horror series for Halloween. So we figured we'd keep it a little light, fun, and kiddie with the horror version of the Goonies.
Right.
So moving...
That definitely.
Right. This movie's fucking great. If you have not seen it, watch it after the podcast.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
But if you have seen it, join in on the fun. What?
I'm trying to remember if I saw Goonies first or Monster Squad first. I want to say Goonies.
I saw this one.
I think I've seen Goonies first.
I think so too.
My dad told this for me on HBO without even me knowing what it was. He's like, "Oh,
I used to rent this movie so much before the Goonies, and I found the Goonies, and they were just like so similar in my head. Even as a kid, I'm like,
yeah,
well, this is just in my head, they're so similar.
But anyway,
yeah,
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of robots.
Well, we'll get to that soon enough. But first,
yes. You know what's up next? The news.
Hey, you cocksuckers, this is the news. Come on down and enjoy it.
Enjoy and lots to look at.
I love that. Bringing Halloween to life.
So creative.
Just like this.
Why did you do that? Why did you do that?
Now that's Dave. Dave sees the spiders, he freaks out.
Trick or treat, mother lover.
I'm not really a fan either. I've grown to be a little bit, but I still get the EBGBs. If I can see hair on them, get away from me.
Well, you're talking about spiders, right?
Yeah. Get out of here.
Ah.
So first up is our box office news. The Nun 2 is still sitting in first, up to 70.1 mil. Still had a pretty decent week, about 700,000. Sure. Expendables 4 is in second with 8.7.
Shitty.
That's what I hear, but for some reason it's in second. Haunting in Venice is still at number 3 with 25.9. Equalizer 3 up to 81.7 mil. This week it only made about $470,000. And Barbie's in fifth, hanging out, totally made 630.8 mil. And it only made $353K this week. So that is the box office news.
I gotta say, when it comes down to it, okay, The Nun.
I can't believe it's number one still.
That's so that blows my mind too. But
it's that time of the year, guys.
Yeah,
it is true.
Everybody's ready for it.
It also shows that, like, even Barbie can't stand up to horror. The Nun 2, I actually heard some people were saying it's halfway decent. Some people were saying it's just like the first one. Whatever. I'm kind of curious about it myself. But it just kind of shows that Barbie was up there number one for like forever, and the Nun brand like comes in and it's like horror is still keeping it strong,
Yeah, like Mike said, though, it is that time of year. Anything that comes out horror is going to do good right now. Everybody wants to watch horror movies.
What
And
is that?
officially,
Haunting in Venice? What is that?
What?
What's Haunting in Venice?
Another one of those haunted movies, kind of like, I guess, like the Haunting in Connecticut and that kind of bullshit.
Oh.
But it's in Venice.
Thanks, bud.
Takes place in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
That's the twist.
It is. It must be
It's
a
so
fucking
good,
M. Night
I've never
Shyamalan
heard
movie. Shamalama Ding Dong.
It's a
The writer's
Shyamalan
strike.
movie?
No, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't think so. No. That's just the twist, though. It's in Albuquerque. Anyway, the writer's strike is officially over. 146 days long. Ticketing is over. That almost went in my eye.
Put down the
They
picket sign.
finally made some agreements. They are finalizing the deal, I believe, next week.
Yep.
So that's good to know.
3-year deal.
Some more shit will be coming out. I do believe Chuck is frozen.
No, that's his natural look. Yes. 3-year deal. And now everybody can get back in that writer's room and start cranking out some new material. Hopefully something good, but whatever. It hasn't been good for a while, so fucking.
They look so amused.
Yeah.
Especially after this next news. Well, I'll wait for that one in case they come back on.
Guys, what do you think of the news so far?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
The Office is getting a reboot with the original cast.
That's what I hear.
Let's see what they can do. I honestly have never ever really watched the show. I know.
You're missing out.
I'm one of them weird ones. Prime is supposedly adding ads and commercials into their lineup, which is dumb as fuck.
Dumb as fuck.
I don't understand why you want to pay this money for a streaming service and then you still got to sit through fucking commercials, because the point of streaming services is not having commercials.
Well, now they know they got to fucking pay off these writers and everybody. They got to figure out a way to make some more money, so they got to juice us.
Right. It's fucking dumb. And then they'll even like up the ante, so it'll cost like $5 more a month or something stupid.
Dumb.
Dumb. Sony got hacked again. So that's fun.
Everybody getting hacked, man. Chuck
Sony's
got
the
hacked.
Chuck got hacked. Got took over by Skynet.
Man. Oh, no.
Welcome back, gentlemen. I was saving this for you guys because I know you're going to love it. Miramax is in the works for selling the Halloween franchise so it can have future film endeavors and TV series.
As we predicted,
Yes.
I guarantee that last film was a setup for the new franchise, because it makes zero sense otherwise. Like, why the fuck would you introduce a new character and all this? She's gonna have Corey's baby. Get ready for it.
Yes. You're probably very right about that. Yeah. I would say you're correct.
Like, it's the dumbest shit ever. Like, they just don't let that shit fucking go, man.
I don't know how they're going to be able to redeem themselves after what they've already done.
It's not even about redeeming. It's
just stop.
Yeah, I mean, they butchered the last franchise, like the last
we're done.
Trilogy.
Mine's gone.
Like, yeah, it started out well, but it did not end well at all. The very first one was not bad. The second one, meh, and then the third one just went fucking sideways.
It grew that last trilogy, like, kind of put the horror community like in like split them down the middle, and I didn't appreciate that either. There were some people who were like, "Oh, I really liked it," then you had to hate them. So like,
I don't mind it. It was funny when I went to go see it. I remember you told me it was the best Friday the 13th movie that's been out in a while.
The second one. Yeah, Halloween Kills. Yeah, Halloween Kills.
Right. Yeah. And so I'm not a big Halloween guy, so I watched it because you said that. But it's not a good Halloween movie. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It could have been a Jason slasher movie.
It could have been.
Which is that one was just straight, like, kind of gory, especially that fucking scene like at the end whenever there's 80 assholes surrounding this guy, but they're like, "Oh, let's fight him one by one because he's a fucking massive beast." Yeah. And this will be a good idea.
I think there was bits and pieces from all three films that if you would have took that and made one film collectively, that it would have been a really good film.
Yeah,
the studios say no, stretch it out so we can make 3 films and 3 times the money. We don't give a fuck if the story is good or not.
Right. And then once you know who's behind it too, it makes it even worse. Because like I'm a fan of Danny McBride, but they fucking butchered that shit.
Man, I don't
That
think
first one, the first one I liked.
No, I mean I'm sure he didn't have all the fuck ups in it, but I mean he contributed. I'm sure
because he's a fan. He's mentioned horror stuff on Eastbound and Down and other shows he's done. So he puts these little things into everything he does because he's a fan of the stuff. And I'm sure he was sitting there saying, "What the fuck," But he'll never come out and say that. David Gordon Green and all those other guys are his boys, so it's like he's not going to fucking diss them. But in the back of his mind, I guarantee he's thinking like, "What the fuck is this?"
He should be.
Right. If he's not, he should be.
He should be.
he should be.
Yep.
So if anybody buys it, just fucking flush those fucking papers down the toilet and don't fuck with it. I'm half time. Like we should all go in and buy it just so nobody fucking makes any more fucked up Halloween movies.
That should be the next protest. No more Halloween
should
movies.
be.
We started
Really should be.
Kickstarter just to buy it, just so nobody does shit with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A time capsule.
Yeah. What's
we
that?
should just get the horror community to just do these GoFundMe's to buy up all the rights to all the intellectual properties of horror, and we own them as the fans.
That'd be great.
That'd be interesting. Never gonna happen, but wishful thinking.
Not a bad idea, though.
It's not a bad idea.
Well, that, gentlemen, is the end of the news.
Yeah.
Did you guys see anything else that I may have missed this week that caught your eye or you'd like to mention?
The only thing like you said, it was the strike. That was the big news from this week. So
yeah,
nothing else really came across my desk.
Not really newsworthy.
I've been out of my office, so I haven't got to check my papers.
The papers.
You got
all right, gentlemen. Let's dive into this wonderful episode of the 1987 Fred Decker classic, The Monster Squad, which was released. There we go, the VHS copy. The movie was released in theaters August 14th, 1987. Had a $12 million budget. It did not do well in the box office, only making roughly $4 million.
3.8.
Definitely took a bomb. So they did not get their money back on this one. And Fred Decker, if you do not know, did Night of the Creeps right before he started filming this movie. And then he also did House 1, 2, RoboCop 3, and If Looks Could Kill with Richard Grieco.
There you go.
I love that movie. I don't give a fuck.
I remember that one. That's like one of the only one of his movies that I can really always comes to mind.
What a strange lost of movies.
Yeah,
I'm the French teacher. Also written by Fred Decker and Shane Black, who did Lethal Weapon, Predator, and The Last Action Hero, amongst many more.
Last Boy Scout.
And The Last Boy Scout. So you had two legends writing the same story. Really didn't do a whole lot of work together in the same room, but they came up with a movie that they wish would have done as well as it has over the years, since it has a massive cult following. Like this fucking movie, like I said, it sucked in the box office. Then many, many years later, it just fucking blew up. And then it became one of those fucking movies that if you're a horror fan, you've seen this shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so you mentioned Monster Squad, like you can tell who's been a horror fan for a while.
That's
it has a huge cult following.
This movie, it snags you when you're young. Mm-hmm. And you still love it even as you're an adult.
Yeah.
Like I watched this movie probably a couple of years ago, and I still love it. Like it brings back so much nostalgia, and I don't know. It's classic.
It brings, it especially like when you're a kid and you're getting into all like the Universal monster movies and stuff. That's what it was for me. My dad was like, "Oh, you've been liking these movies, you might like this shit." And I don't know, it kind of became one of the biggest cult followings of like a movie from like when you're a kid to when you're like how you are now. I don't know.
See, that's kind of how it happened with me too, was because I saw this movie at my grandparents' house. I remember that because me and my grandfather used to watch all kinds of shit together. And then once we saw this, he was like, well, "You're gonna have to check out Abbott Costello and the Monsters."
Yeah.
So then I fucking went back and we watched all those, and then it just kept getting me more and more interested in horror figures. So then I started watching all the original movies, just because the humor in it. So it just didn't make me like to have that scared factor. I was just interested.
Yeah. Just fun.
Right.
And the place that they rented this from had a big poster on the wall of Monster Squad when I was young, and I was just like, man, that's got to be the coolest movie ever. And they had it for rent, this one actually when it came out, but I don't know. I just used to rent it over and over again. I've probably rented this before I bought it from them. Hell, I don't know, 100 times probably when I was a kid.
It's one of the most watched movies of on my list. It has to be. It's definitely on there.
I made my nephew watch it when he was like 7 or 8. I made, all the little kids, like a bunch of little cousins of mine, I'm like, hey, that are into kind of monster stuff, because it's a good one to break young kids into.
Yeah.
But it still has like cool monsters in it.
Yeah.
And there's some cool action, and like the beginning with, Van Helsing and all that stuff. Like there's some cool parts that, like as a kid, you're like, oh man, shit, that's like, some cool shit, but it's not like.
I watch it now and still think it's fucking badass.
Yeah. I mean, and it still kind of holds up. I mean, it's other than technology.
Yeah.
You see people talking on like house phones and stuff, but other than that, it kind of still holds up because kids are still kids.
Yeah.
And just like the feel of like a group of kids trying to do something is kind of like a trope, like that's the thing. So it still holds up on all regards, other than like some of the tech stuff, I think.
Yeah.
The universal monsters are definitely the selling point of this film. And it's one of those things, like you said, we would see the universal monsters watching like Turner Classics or, whatever you watched it on. You saw the old films from the 30s and so on. And now this is like the dream come true, where you have the crossover of all the monsters in one film. And you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And if you're a fan of the Universal monsters, then this is like something that you're like, hell yeah, I definitely want to check out. But I think at that point in time, it was a different environment. It was the mid 80s, where not a lot of people, like the teen audience was more geared towards Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, the slasher films. So something like this doesn't come across to that kind of audience. And if you're going to run a film like this at PG-13, then you're putting yourself in a bad spot. And that's one of the factors that I think contributed to this film not doing so well originally.
Yeah, that makes sense though.
Yeah, because you got all the older. Okay, it's PG-13, so the kids that can see it don't really want to see it because, hey, we got Michael Myers, we got Jason, we got Freddy. Mm-hmm. And actually a few weeks after this film came out is the first Hellraiser movie came out. So you got Pinhead coming out. So you got that whole audience geared towards something totally different. Not to mention the fact that Lost Boys came out 2 weeks before this did. So they're off watching other shit. And they're like, no, we don't want no Universal monsters. That's not cool anymore. This is the cool shit. So those are the people that they can actually go and see the film being at PG-13. And now the kids, this is almost geared towards a younger audience, kind of like an ET audience, but you've thrown in little bits and pieces to amp that rating up to where you alienate that audience. And so those kids that want to see the Universal monsters and want to see this type of film couldn't see it. So you have that conundrum of, hey, the people that can see it don't want to see it. The people who do want to see it can't see it.
Right. And you mentioned Lost Boys, and that's why this movie did so bad at the box office too. Because I mean, it was going up against a lot of shit.
Yeah,
like that was a big summer in '87.
Yeah, and go ahead.
No, I was going to say it was a rough year if you were trying to top anything because there was so much good shit coming out that year.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors. Like I said, with the rating was one of the big factors. The marketing was terrible. I don't remember the marketing as a child, but going back and watching the documentaries and stuff later on, it's just like, this is terrible. Like whoever was in charge of marketing this just completely failed. And so you add those factors in. It's just everything that could go wrong getting this film off the ground and selling it to an audience happened, and that's why it's one of those ones that where it came out, did absolutely nothing, and then just faded off into obscurity for like 20 years.
Yeah,
right. But the look of all these monsters though, like Stan Winston's Clubhouse fucking killed it.
Yeah,
I mean, from like every monster looked amazing. Now
Mm-hmm.
I know like Wolfman was definitely like a Stan Winston thing. He did that himself. Tom Woodruff, he was Gilman, and he actually was a makeup artist as well, and he actually had his own Gilman suit. And then he showed to Stan, and Stan was like, yeah, that's pretty dope. And he's like, well, let me play Gilman. And he was like, cool. So, I mean, he had the suit already in hand, and then they just made up the mask and shit, and the rest was it. And then you got fucking, what's that?
So I was gonna say, still waiting on that fucking movie they should make with that suit.
Yeah, I mean that was the best looking mask
or the
forever.
Creature it was so good. Yeah, it was like an updated version, so it was different enough to give everybody kind of a new take on.
Oh, you could do so much with that. You really could.
Yeah, I mean, but it was similar enough. It's like, oh, that's Creature from Black Lagoon. That's
what I noticed as a kid. I was like, oh shit, they got that dude.
Yeah, absolutely. It was probably my favorite. I mean,
definitely that's part of my favorite.
Yeah.
But he comes across as much more intimidating, with the fangs and everything like that.
Right.
And that's and you got to attribute that to like Matt Rose and Steve Wang, who was part of the team there at Stan Winston's company, and they killed it, man. They just, like you said, Chad, like all these monsters, like I can't say one bad thing about any of them.
No, they all look amazing.
This whole film in general, the aesthetic, everything looks great. And a lot of people give this film shit, like, okay, it didn't do good for a reason, and it wasn't because of the acting, it wasn't because of the directing, it wasn't because of the cinematography, any of those things. And that's why later on people were like, hey, you need to go see this because it's a fucking good film. Like, they just got the shaft when it came to the rating and the marketing, so
right.
Yeah, everything else looks fucking great.
We've mentioned Stan Winston on this show numerous times now. Like, you got to give that fucking man his props.
Yeah,
he's a fucking legend. Like, there's a reason why many people wanted to get into makeup because of him.
Yeah,
he's just fucking amazing. There's no more you can really say.
Flawless.
I got a really random question I just thought about. Did we introduce ourselves yet?
No, we didn't. But we got name tags on.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Right. Sorry, random.
We got name tags. Don't be afraid. And you got Duncan Rager as Dracula, who fucking killed it as Dracula.
Oh yeah,
man.
The original casting was supposed to be Liam Neeson.
Really?
Yeah. But he didn't make the cut. He was just pretty much starting out back in those days, so he really wasn't a name at all. Like, he wasn't anybody. He wasn't the guy that lost a lot of family members and had to go find them yet.
I was gonna say, did you see the audition tapes he did for the Monster Squad? He's like, I will find you and I will bite you.
Now, Chuck, you do have the box there if you want to read the back.
Kevin has the box. Unfortunately, I do not have the VHS.
It's your back of the box. It's your back of the box.
You don't want to read it?
You can read it, Whitman.
But
don't be scurry.
I gotta say though, he has kept this in great condition. This is one I still don't have in my collection of VHS. All right, let's see here.
That's a big one, you better.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. You know who to call when you have ghosts, but who do you call about monsters? Just a 1-800 monster. Whether it's a bat in your belfry or a mummy in your microwave, the Monster Squad ain't afraid of no ghouls. When Count Dracula flies in from Transylvania to retrieve an ancient amulet, he calls upon some old friends to help in his search. When the weird Wolfman, grotesque Gillman, mid-dude mummy, and freaky Frankenstein by his side, the creepy Count has until midnight to find the amulet and gain final control over the delicate balance between good and evil in the world. When police are baffled and parents perplexed, it takes the Monster Squad headquartered in the local treehouse to correctly diagnose the full moon madness as actual monster mayhem. As midnight draws near and the ghoulish group gets closer, the Monster Squad pulls its questionable resources, getting ready for a monstrous good time. The Monster Squad, they make ghost busting look like child's play.
That's a fucking lengthy box read.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I think I did good on
half the box.
That's good.
That was probably the toughest one yet.
No, I'm everywhere tonight, and just because I'm excited about this movie. I love this fucking film. Like, there's nothing more I can say about it. Like, I watch this shit probably once a month.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Like, it's so fucking good.
It's so funny because when I was a kid, I got in trouble as a wee lad. I had some anger issues, and I had some, I didn't know how to deal with things the best way. And so all my movies that I was able to watch, because I was able to watch the R-rated action movies and all that shit, all my shit like that or anything violent got taken from me. One of those movies that got taken from me was Monster Squad got erased. My dad taped it on HBO, and he erased it because my mother told him that I did not need to watch that. And it took me years, okay, to even to think I'd ever find that movie again. And then I was at Video Selection, an old place in my hometown of Winchester. Had it on sale there on VHS. My buddy got it, and it was it had to have been 13 years later, and then seeing this movie again, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Exactly, what the fuck? But it's a very sought out movie in the VHS, almost VH1, VHS collector's world. The Monster Squad is pretty much one that it's a must have. Like I said, I don't have it in my collection because I kind of suck at it, but I'll get my copy one day. But I mean, everybody, if you're a horror fan, a lot of people will say the same thing. Monster Squad is one of my favorite movies. If you go through the movies of from a kid to now that you still enjoy,
if you grew up,
you're right.
I think if you're an adult right now, even though there's stuff you can enjoy as an adult, it's not going to hook you like it would if you saw when you were a kid.
Sure.
Because I mean, that's why I love it so much, and that's why you love it. That's why everybody I know, because they watched it when they were 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. That's the age of this movie is the shit. Somewhere in that bracket. And I think if you watch it then, it's going to hook you for life. But if you don't watch it then, you may skip over it and just never. If you come into horror late, or in high school or whatever, you may never even check this movie out.
I mean, I never know it exists.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like my buddy found it at the movie store that day, and we watched it. I swear I was a kid all over again. I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
This is that fucking movie. This is exactly what, and it was, I don't know. And it's forever. And when it came out on DVD, the special edition came out with 2 discs. I was like, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I never thought I'd ever see that on a DVD, in DVD form. Especially a special edition with 2 discs. I mean, dude, get the fuck out of here. That fucking
and that all goes to the fan base. They're the ones that push for it. They lobbied the studios to say, hey, we want this on DVD, and they finally released it. So that's just a testament to the fan base of this film, the cult following.
Yeah, I mean, it's also not to mention the fact that anytime, I'm one of those people come to me asking hey, my kid wants to watch horror movies. What's a good movie for him to watch?
Yeah.
And it's it's the first one I always mention. I'm like, they haven't seen Monster Squad.
This and Ghostbusters. For young kids.
For young kids, yeah.
If they're like, oh, what's kind of a horror, got some spooks in it and scariness, but not, too much. It's like Ghostbusters, Monster Squad.
Yeah.
So
that's it for me.
Well, it's funny that you bring up the fact that whenever you saw it on VHS and whenever you first saw it on DVD, you're blown away. And then it came out on Blu-ray, but today actually Fred Decker announced that on November 28th, they're getting a 4K edition of the film with 13 deleted scenes.
There you go.
Oh, shit. What?
So once again, this is always a fucking full circle thing. We don't ever plan this shit, obviously, because who knew that the day we were going to do a Monster Squad episode, he was going to announce the new Blu-ray release.
I did.
So
I want to see that shit.
I just talked to Fred earlier. He was like, "Hey, guess what?
It's like, hey, pal, Buster."
Again, this will be one of those parts where, like, when we all see those deleted scenes, we'll all be like, "Oh shit! Oh, this is great!" And then when somebody else, if they watch them, that didn't watch it as a young kid, will be like, well, "Who cares?" Like, what you know? But
they did say that the opening segment was supposed to be completely different, but they couldn't do it because if they would have, it would have cost them pretty much the whole cost of the budget. It would have been like $24 million, just because the beginning scene would have cost at least 10.
Yeah,
I wanted to get like all kinds of like skeletons and horses, like the big Van Helsing scene and everything was supposed to be just way over the top.
That opening scene is one of my favorite. Like,
right?
We started watching the other night because I was introducing Dax. He was getting tired, so we got to finish watching it. But man, I had to make sure before I did anything else, I had to make sure I saw that opening scene because I was also doing other things too. But it's just there's something so, I don't know, like when it shows the coffins and the spiders and then like the fingers coming out. It is
like what you want of like
the red lettering,
Dracula's castle, and like the gothic stuff, like horror movie shit. It's so well shot to kind of fit that vibe, that motif, man. It's like, I don't know. I think it's genius shot right through there. Like you see, like I said, the red lettering, the whole deal, all the stuff is really just on point for the feel of the.
It's almost like a Hammer film. It almost gives off that kind of feeling to it.
Well, then it like pans up and you see a Vamstress fucking eating a possum.
Yeah.
Which I don't hot.
I'm gonna get heat. I'm gonna fucking walk into the flames here because going back, it's definitely a nostalgia factor. But going back and looking at this from a logical perspective, there's so many holes that they should call this the Swiss cheese squad, because I'm like watching it. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And it's like that opening scene. Okay, you see Dracula down in the tomb or whatever, but then he's not even in the scene with Van Helsing, and there's only skeletons and the fucking portal and the amulet and some chick. I'm trying to fucking understand how that even fucking where the fuck was? Okay, we know where Dracula was. Where the fuck was Frankenstein, Gilman, Mummy, and Wolfman? How do they tie into all this? Like, were they even around whenever Van Helsing was trying to storm the castle? Or so many questions. And I think the thing is, whenever I was watching the documentary and everything like that, they were saying how the Shane Black had wrote a 1,000-page screenplay, and Decker had to trim it down to like 150. So I feel like that's what you see in the film, where it's like there's a whole story that we didn't get to see because they're like, we got to fucking make this a film. We can't make it into a fucking 4-hour-long gimmick.
I think that's the opening Shane Black was trying to do. The one they totally had to scrap because it would have cost another $12 million.
Right. And it's I don't even know what's going on. Like the portal opens up and Van Helsing and this girl, what do you think gets sucked into the fucking portal there, into limbo? Like
pretty much
Dracula,
pretty much everything but Dracula.
Yeah, Dracula didn't even go in there. So what the hell? What the hell was the point to open the portal? In my mind, you open the portal and send the monsters into limbo somehow.
That's the plan.
I kind of thought the same thing the other night I was watching. I was like,
it was a total
actually, Dax actually kind of made a comment too about it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's silly as hell.
Or is the amulet supposed to go into the portal because it's the 100-year anniversary and it's vulnerable and you want it in limbo so he can't get to it? Is that, maybe I'm not fucking understanding the story. I don't know.
But the amulet was in the castle.
It was, but isn't it? Where does it go whenever the portal opens? It's still there, right?
I mean, it just disappears for a minute. Then I guess whenever it closes, it drops back down.
Because I think the story, the way they were explaining it was that I don't even know how this makes sense. Okay, so fucking the portal closes, and Van Helsing's in fucking limbo. I guess his boys just decided to grab the amulet and take it and hide it. I think that was what it was. They were supposed to be hiding it from Dracula. So they found some fucking place in the United States and just put it in a wall there. And it's like, oh, he'll never find it
666 Shadowbrook Road.
Yeah, he'll never find it there. But like 100 years later, he knows exactly where it's at.
Well, okay. You also got to look at it like, I mean,
he used his spidey senses.
There is a right, but there's a Scooby. Oh yeah, right. But there's like a Scooby Doo element to it, like so it's like that's how I kind of look at it because there are ridiculous things that plot holes that you don't think about as a kid,
And that's the appeal because as a kid you're watching it, you don't think about this kind of shit. You're just like, cool, monsters, action, all this stuff. That's all you're concerned about. But as going back as an adult and watching it, you're probably like, what the fuck is going on here? Because there's very little that makes sense. Why are the monsters working for Dracula? What is the benefit for them? Are they going to take over the world? Is that the plan? If he gets the amulet, then he can take over the world, right?
Right,
something like that. But Frankenstein, he's like, oh, he brings back Frankenstein. Frankenstein doesn't even fucking seem like he gives a shit. He's like, I want to go. Like he was not, on the payroll at all. He's like, oh yeah, go get these kids and get the amulet, and if they get in your way, kill them. And he shows up, and from the get-go, he didn't have any intention of killing him. He's like, hey, you guys want to hang out, basically?
You want to teach me how to talk?
Yeah, it's like.
Also, you got to remember
scary.
You also got to remember something else talking about plot holes. When Frankenstein, the Frankenstein monster, which it's in a huge box that says Frankenstein. Yeah, they're in that plane. Yeah. Okay, and
coming from Transylvania.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah. Another thing.
Wait. Like, so you get these, the banter between the two, the two pilot guys that look like they both been on coke all night long.
Probably.
Smuggling. Well, dude goes in the back, and the bat flies by, and then all of a sudden it's Dracula, and he's wearing all his clothes and everything. I've always thought that was goofy, but. Because I don't really know how that happens, but whatever. But right. Then the part over. Yeah, I guess that's just so weird. But like when he opens up the thing for the coffin and everything to fall through, and he's standing there, he's right there. It's in broad daylight.
Broad daylight. You're like, what the fuck is going on here?
I never even, until I watched it the other night, I never even thought about that. I was like, it is in the middle of the day.
There's some dumb shit.
There is.
And I feel like those guys, those pilots were smuggling drugs. I think they couldn't include that in the film. But why else are they transporting a plane full of dead bodies to another country? Like there's literally nobody in the United States waiting for Frankenstein from Bavaria to arrive.
No. But then like his fucking like Frank's box is literally right on top of the trap door, so it just falls through.
Yes. Yeah. And it just happens to fall into the city where this amulet happens to be. There's so much convenient things that happen in this film. But I think it's the goofiness that makes it fun too.
Richard said he came for the nards, staying for the in-depth analysis.
There you go. Welcome, Richard. But yes, it's so.
Well, it's also like it's also that it just so happens that Gilman is there when
Dracula hanging out.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's like and the mummies in that museum and the
right.
It's funny because Dracula takes his cane and he's holding it up towards the lagoon, and it makes it look like he's raising Frankenstein's coffin out of there, like levitating it. But really, Gilman shows up. And he's like, "Oh, I'm lifting this shit." like Dracula wasn't doing shit. He was just like, really, it was Gilman that just showed up. Like, oh, there you go.
And then he tosses it up there and it lands perfect.
Yeah.
It doesn't like explode or nothing. No wood breaks.
Then Dracula just happens to have in his cane these little things that can attach to Frankenstein, and he can a bolt of lightning comes out of nowhere conveniently. There's so much so much weird shit in this film. I don't know if I like it or if I hate the fact that it's so fucked up logically.
Well, yeah. Like, yeah, again, plot holes. Whatever. Still a great movie.
Well, I'm going to jump all the way to the end, though, with the plot holes, is because at the end, so Dracula blows up the playhouse or whatever, fucking Dell gets home.
Why? First off, why did he blow up their treehouse?
So I guess he thought he was in there, and then he wanted to kill him.
I don't think they even knew that he blew it up. I don't think there's any point. They're off in the city somewhere else. There was never.
No, they didn't know, but the mom runs out back and freaks out.
Right, but I mean,
but then like the thing that I'm getting to though is fucking. So the dad Dell radios Sean. Sean answers back, and he's like, "Hey, we're on our way to town square," and then fucking they're like at his house. The next thing you know, he hops in the fucking car and drives to Times Square and shit. But then at the end, once everything goes in limbo and Dracula has Phoebe by the throat, you see their mom yelling from their front porch.
Yeah.
She's like, "Phoebe!" Yeah. It's like, well, what the fuck? How close is this fucking town square to her house whenever he had to drive like across town? Like, I was so confused going back and watching that shit. I'm like, where the fuck is this bitch at? Like, how is she still on her front porch yelling down through Times Square?
Or the fact that later on, once the portal opens up, that it sucks a whole car that weighs thousands of pounds in, but it can't pull a little girl in a bench.
That's made my dad so pissed off when we watched this when I was a kid, and he was just like, "How the hell can it pick up that car?" Like, he just thought that was the dumbest shit ever. He didn't like this movie because of that scene. When
literally a 5-year-old girl does not get sucked in, but this giant Frankenstein monster does, because she's just behind a bench. Why is the bench not getting? That bench can't weigh more.
Yeah. You see,
it flipped over.
Trees coming. Oh man!
I feel like we could do a whole episode just breaking down all the plot holes and being like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
We could. There is a lot, but I still love this movie. Like, I just try not to take it seriously. I mean, you can't take it seriously whatsoever.
Well, we should talk about some of the cool ass shit in this movie. Okay? Like for instance, some of my favorite. Like, I love the werewolf scenes. I don't necessarily think that the Wolfman looks cool. I think his face is a little flat.
Yeah, he looks weird in the face.
He looks like he's been hit with a boulder or something. He's just like, I can't move my neck.
The scenes are cool, man.
But the scenes are cool. Like when they first introduce the guy who's like, "Lock me up," he shoots the gun,
Yeah.
And then when he's on the phone and he's like, "He's gonna kill your son," and then
he transforms.
Yeah, it's like that dude. As a kid, I was always like, "Oh, it's just chilling." But the coolest thing, and I've never seen it done in any other werewolf, is when because they talk about how do you kill a werewolf and all that shit or whatever, and it's like, well, dynamite. And I love the fact that they even put that to the test, and they did it the way they did it, because
it has to be so.
They put the fucking the dynamite in his pants, and then he blows up.
Yeah,
and then slowly his hand just, dude, like, I love that scene. Like, as a kid, I was like, yes, the Wolfman prevails,
Right.
Like, I mean, and honestly, he does, because he's happy he dies at the end of the movie. So he does prevail.
Going back to the police station. So fucking dude's in the police station just wants to get locked up.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't shoot anybody or do anything. He steals somebody's gun, fucking fires it in the air, tells them to lock him up, and then some cop runs out of nowhere and just shoots the dude in the chest like 4 times. Like
Yes,
you're already in the fucking station. Just
With-
throw him in a fucking cell.
with other people behind him. Like there's other people in this building, and it's like, oh, I'm just gonna open fire on this dude.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like police brutality at its finest. Like you
Gotta-
just fucking
gotta
shoot
fucking
some
really-
dude in the chest that actually wants to be locked in a cell. Like you're already
Yeah.
fucking there. All you gotta do is be like, all right, let's go. Put
Lock
the gun
me
down
up.
and we'll be fucking good.
But like that scene, that for every one of my favorite scenes when it comes down to like cool shit that happens in the movie. Because I really have never seen that been explored. Like what happens if Werewolf gets blown up?
Right.
Oh, he just goes back together again. Like it's ridiculous, but kind of cool. And it was done really well. I mean, really well. But like I those are probably some of my favorite scenes. But you can't get away from the what's it called? The collage, the montage. When they're all getting ready for all the shit. Like I always love that shit when they're all making the steaks and they're
Of
doing
course,
it.
man. Because
Has that music
Rock until you drop.
It's like getting the group together, like you're gathering your forces. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We talked about it on the Big Trouble episodes, like the gang's getting all their gear together. You know, it's like it shows Rudy like melting down those the silver and like sharpening those. You know, those.
He's
snakes.
making silver bullets in metal class in fucking middle school. Like what the fuck?
The big red flag these days, boys. Oh, man. Like, and see, and that's speaking of Rudy.
Riding up on those penny loafers, man.
Okay.
So crazy.
I, as a kid, I was like, dude, he is badass. like, see what happens, kids.
You're smoking right.
The first scene you see him driving his fucking banana seated bicycle, and he fucking pulls up and does a little skid.
Yeah, he comes sliding in.
He's wearing biker gloves.
Yeah, and like everybody, like these dudes are scared of him. And he makes it, he makes him eat that fucking like candy bar, which probably still tastes fine. Like
so you dropped your candy bar, EJ. So it's his.
Eat it up, and we'll call it a day.
Right.
I said eat.
Which he never really shows any like toughness really at all, except for attitude.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about him is the guy that played Rudy. If you like watching like the special features on the DVD and shit like that,
Ryan Lambert.
Yeah, he is not a tough guy at all. He is very, very the opposite from what it seems. But as a kid, I thought he was cool. They probably shouldn't have had him smoking cigarettes. That probably gave a bad impression to children.
Oh, bump that rating.
It was the 80s.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. Nobody really gave a fuck then, but you know.
It's straight out of the 80s kids playbook where it's like you have the group of the Goonies, Stand By Me. All the formula is there where you have the kid that's the leader, you have the kid that's a nerd, you have a kid that's a rebel, and you have a kid that's overweight, and you put them all together and you just create some kind of situation that they have to solve. And then that's the formula in the 80s. And by this time, I don't know if it ran its course or not with audiences or whatever. That might have been another factor where it's like, okay, we've seen this before. This is the Goonies with monsters, Yeah. And on top of that, you've got a cast that did well, but that didn't have any star power whatsoever. You didn't know who these kids were. I mean, they had done a lot of TV and stuff like that, but they weren't household names, and they still aren't.
Right.
And that was another detrimental factor, I think, to this. I mean, can you imagine if you would have had this film with the Sean character kid played by like Sean Astin, or Rudy played by River
Sean
Phoenix?
Astin. I mean, wait, wrong movie.
No, River Phoenix as Rudy, or something like that, where you had household, people that the kids would recognize and be like, oh yeah, I know that guy from the other film. And I think it lacked in star power as well, because it's like everybody's like, I don't know who any of these fucking people are.
Right. So the guy that plays Frankenstein, which by the way,
Tom Noonan.
Yeah, but Frankenstein's a monster, which I hate that they call him Frankie in the movie because his name really isn't Frankenstein. He's the monster. Whatever. I had a problem with that even as a kid. But that guy, he's been in a shit ton of movies.
Oh, Tom
Last
Hanks.
Action Hero.
Last Action Hero.
Yeah, Last Action Hero.
That's
The
always
House,
the one I remember.
House of the Devil. The Pledge. He's been in a shit ton of movies. But then the makeup, you really can't even tell that it's him. Like, you know,
Right.
Yeah, because I thought Frankenstein was a pretty interesting take on the monster. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was all right, but I couldn't even tell. You know, the guy that plays Dracula, I've seen him on a couple of things before, but nothing that I can remember what it was. I can just pretty much pick out, like, oh shit, he told Phoebe that she was a bitch.
Dude, that was the pimpest scene in the fucking whole movie.
Give me the ambulance, you bitch.
Little girl.
See, I always think it's funny. I always think it's funny too, though, how this movie always gets like put under there, like how we said, like the Universal monsters with the Goonies, because Maddie Traynor was the mom in Goonies, and she's the mom in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, we got the perfect part for you.
Right. It's like it's gonna be like Goonies all over again, but with monsters. She's probably like, fucking all right, whatever.
Yeah, we couldn't afford anybody else, so.
And you're in a terrible marriage.
I also want to throw out there that the dad is.
Oh man.
He also is in one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations, and also one of my favorite assholes of any movie. I think one of them, if anything, Graveyard Shift.
Yeah.
He's the boss that has the weird accent that you can't. Yeah, Warwick.
Stephen Mack.
Yeah, it's so weird though that he's the same guy because he has no.
You wouldn't even believe it. Like he looks so different. You know, his hair and everything, and he's just like. I mean,
he's the cool ass dad though in this one though. Like, cause I mean, come on, like I mean, he joins his kid outside with burgers, like to watch the fucking like slasher movie. I love it when they're talking about that. He's like, didn't they kill him in the last one? He's been blown up. He's been like, you know, they're like, oh, that was part 7.
Yeah,
like you know, it's like I that part I always. Hell, the other day he was talking about how he lived not too far away from the drive-in, and I asked him, I was like,
yeah.
could you monster squad it? He's like, I wasn't that close. No, that was always something cool.
That'd be dope. Just hanging out on your fucking roof, just fucking watching movies all day.
Oh yeah.
And you can tell he already watched it more than once because he's like talking to his dad. He's like, "Here, this is the best part." So he's supposed to be watching his sister, but he's just fucking chilling out on the roof, fucking watching movies all night.
Yeah, I think Stephen Mock was hoping for a career as one of those. Hey, I'm going to be in a horror movie as a cop, and I'll go on to do like John Saxon's type stuff, where I'll be in cops. I'll be a cop in other horror films too. Like he was in one of the Amityvilles and Trancers, and you know, all these B movies.
Yeah.
Good. So you can't forget his partner either, Stan Shaw. Like he was always Slaw. Stan Slaw.
Coleslaw.
No, but like I always like he was one of those guys I always kind of got confused with fucking like Ernie Hudson, Keith David.
Keith David.
Because they all look similar and have like the same like kind of features and like I guess
why
Why?
Because they're black?
No. But they have like the same body type. Like I just always got them confused as a kid. Like whenever like I saw like Men at Work 2 or Men at Work, I always thought like that was Ernie Hudson and shit. Whenever like back when I was a kid, it wasn't until I got older until I could like individualize them.
Yeah, and this guy he's such a goofy partner, and then it's so ruthless, so fucking ruthless. It's like everything is tongue in cheek in this film, and then all of a sudden you'll have these moments where like, oh, you just straight up blew up the guy. Like he just takes the dynamite, boop, blows up the partner, and it's like, god damn, they just got serious real quick.
Right. It's like 2,000-year-old dead guys do not just wake up and walk out of a museum.
Yeah, he's just really high strung for a cop. I don't know.
Mummy came in my house.
Yeah, I was gonna say the part where the mummy's in like
that's another one
where the dad doesn't even look in there, and he's just like, "Ooh, scary monsters." And he closes. I
already know what Mike's gonna say. How the hell did he get out of the closet and out the window before the dad went out of the room?
Why was he in the closet to begin with? I don't know what's going on here. Like, what is the mummy's role in any of this? He is the weakest link.
He did
Like,
nothing in the film.
He can't even carry anything, can he?
That's
just
one of
a
the
sack
ones
of
when I was a
bones.
kid. I mean, I was like, why did he go in the closet? Even as a kid, I was like, why would you hide in the closet if you're the monster?
I mean,
Like,
I guess
what
like as a mummy, it's you're naturally like want to go and rest in some kind of area that's dark. I mean,
like a tomb, I guess.
Yeah, but I'm like, why is he in this kid's closet, and why is he even part of this monster team that's trying to take over the world? Like he brings nothing. He brings nothing to the table. He's not like the fucking mummy, like the Rock movies where the mummy has powers and shit like that. Like this.
Yeah, this guy brings nothing to the table.
All hemmed
And
up,
how he dies,
chilling.
he gets unwound.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only reason why he's in the movie, because they probably wrote that scene of how to kill a mummy.
Yeah,
Like,
you
they would
need
just
to-
take an arrow, get some fucking rag tied on there, and shoot it into a thing and unravel him.
That's
Yeah, you need an easy kill because you got to realize they're kids going against creatures, so it's like you need at least an easy kill. You know, kind of like Gilman. You know, Gilman just gets smoked easy. You know, I never thought that they did him right, but
Yeah, same.
I mean, he takes a shotgun blast to the chest, though.
Yeah.
yeah, but
I
he
mean,
just like he didn't even try to like do anything. He's just like, oh, okay, you shot me, I'm dead.
True.
Like at least kill. I thought he should have at least killed one of those bully kids or something. You know, just for a little.
They should like
revenge
take their heads and smash them.
Kill EJ.
I'm off or something.
Yeah, because I mean the bully kids are there. They're in a closed store. Why are they in a closed store just chilling
And it's
at
locked
night?
and nobody else is in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
It's such a good movie.
I mean, it is, but it is ridiculous. I mean, there is because
It really is.
you mentioned quite a few things that I already thought about watching the other
Oh,
night.
yeah.
I mean,
That I didn't think of as a kid. But like since I've watched this adult, I'm like, man, there's some just dumb shit in this movie. But
yeah, but it's still
love
fun. It's I mean, just because of these certain scenes, you know, and like the whole scene with with Dracula being at at their house and all that shit's going on and all that and and when the dad comes to save the day and like he's all like coming around looking like I always thought that was fucking cool. Like the dad's like, okay, I get it, I was wrong, this shit's fucking real, and he like joins it all. You know, like I don't know, I always liked that aspect of it. You know, like especially like the dad and like Dracula squaring off and shit. And of course, okay, let's also talk about Dracula and how he looks when he's half man, half bat, laying there looking like he's pregnant.
And how does that work? Okay, so he shoots him whenever he's in human form. It does nothing. He shoots him when he's a bat, and it pierces him. What the hell's going on there? He can only be hurt in mid transformation or something. What the fuck? That made no sense.
Yeah.
How does Dracula know where they live? Why does he have a car with a skull on it? What does fucking make sense? He's strong enough to rip the door off the back of the hearse and throw it. But whenever he's getting sucked into a portal and has a kid on top of him, he doesn't have the strength to throw this kid across the room or across the street, and he just lets this kid stake him in the heart. Like this dude has the strength to do whatever, but I don't. It's a conundrum that fucks my head. I don't know if it makes me like the film more or it makes me say what the fuck more. I don't know.
Richard's right. It has the same campiness as Little Monsters, and they're both fucking good.
Oh
movies.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
That's another one. That's right there with it.
Yeah.
I like
fun
this movie
movie.
more, but it definitely has the same kind of feel and kind of like
I never thought about
silliness.
that.
Yeah.
True. Very true. I wonder like what it would have been like if they would have been able to make a Goonies Monster Squad like
From the same universe.
yeah, that'd be kind of interesting.
Goonies meets Monster Squad, kind of all the mashups. You know, it's like your Wolfman meets Frankenstein, and all those old films. The crossover stuff is always interesting. Could you imagine if they did like a new Monster Squad where the kids are going up against Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, Pinhead, and Leatherface?
No,
Could you imagine something? I think it would be interesting. It would. They probably fuck it up, but
Oh, guaranteed.
Yeah,
I'd watch it though.
be horrible.
I think it
it's-
just be like an updated Dream Warriors or some kind of shit, right? So like
There
you
you
have this team of the Monster Squad, but instead of maybe all of them together, because of course they just would get destroyed.
Yeah.
But they would attack like each of them, you know, as like a mission or whatever. Or like you could do some maybe cool shit with it, but or at least
I mean,
you know.
I mean, because they're the Monster Squad. You know, they at some point they had time to make up business cards. These children did
Chelsea cutting them in the
because
Yeah.
because there's so many monsters out there. What you just took care of the 5 Universal monsters. Who's left?
Invisible
What
Man.
other monsters? Oh yeah, then yeah. Well, he was in this film. You just didn't see him.
He didn't die unless he just got sucked up and he didn't know about it.
Yeah.
You almost spin it off like Hellboy, like BPRD, like they know about all kinds of other monsters, or they find out about other shit, or you know, there could be stuff you could do, but they would fuck it up so bad.
Oh yeah, completely.
You know, it would.
I mean, execution.
It wouldn't have the feel. It would lose the whole thing. But like the idea that you could do some other stuff with it.
Yeah.
Well, the closest thing that I could relate it to would be Stranger Things nowadays.
Yeah.
Because it's like you've got this group of kids that deals with these creatures on the upside down or whatever, and there's different monsters or different enemies in each season. So it's similar to that. I feel like the Duffer Brothers probably had some type of inspiration from Monster Squad or Goonies, these type of films. And it's kind of like they took that idea and they were like, hey, okay, let's do this now, but let's make it make sense. Like, okay, these kids realistically wouldn't be able to defeat these creatures, but if they have a ally who has superpowers, then it kind of levels the playing field. So that's why I think Stranger Things comes across as such a popular and well put together TV series.
I can do that. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So what else? We haven't even talked about hardly any of this cast.
Well,
Andre.
Well, going back though beforehand, as you were saying, how does Dracula know where this kid lives? Like whenever he walks in the door and his mom's like, "I got you this book," and he fucking has Van Helsing's diary, and then like the next day he comes home or whatever, and she's like, "This guy called Dr. Alucard." Like, what the fuck? And then he just like out of nowhere, his parents are fighting. He decides to go in the fucking kitchen and cipher this fucking cryptid name. Yeah. And it's just fucking backwards.
It's just backwards. Like, there wasn't no anagram. There was no fucking. He's like trying to figure it out. It's like, dude, it's literally Dracula backwards.
Right. And he's like, oh my God. And then they had this fucking meeting in the clubhouse. And he's like, I heard my dad talking. He's like, there was a mummy that escaped from a museum. And then fucking this guy was claiming to be a wolf man. And then the paramedic ended up being dead. And they can't find the body, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, and I think Dracula's here too, guys.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Everything just happens fast. All right.
It really does.
We don't have time to explain.
The fact that these kids are so gung-ho to go fucking monster slaying, and they're only probably, 12, is fucking amazing.
And thank Christ there's a scary German man that lives in the neighborhood.
Right.
And they go in and have
Yeah, right.
Or we'd never be able to translate the scroll. We'd be doing
100 years ago, tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And he fucking grabs the book and looks at it. Sean's like looking at the book like he can read it. Then he's like, 100 years ago, tomorrow night. And he gets all fucking dramatic.
Dun, dun, dun.
So fucking good, man.
Leonardo Cimino as a scary German guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys. Like I know the guy that played the mummy, Michael McKay. He was, I believe, the Monopoly guy in Ace Ventura 2. And he was Jason 143 in the X-Men.
Okay.
He was Monopoly guy? Are you serious?
Yeah. Like the ad for the mummy was, we need to find an anorexic looking actor. That's how they put it. That's how they fucking plugged for this fucking spot in this movie. And he was just a little fucking dude, so he fucking got the job.
There you go.
Good job on him.
Yeah, right.
Pointless character, but yeah. They could have gone with the Invisible Man. That would have been interesting.
Yeah, but I think the fact that you could actually visibly see the mummy
Oh well, yeah, of course.
was the way to go.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't change it. I mean, it is what it is, you know.
Right.
It's what we've grown to love. This campy ass fucking movie.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the dudes that actually played the parts of the Monster Squad kids.
There you go.
So you got Andre Gowen, who played Sean.
Gower.
And Gower.
Gower.
I can't read my own handwriting. It happens. Dr. Shorthand. Robbie Kiger is Patrick. Brent Chalem is Horace, who is no longer with us. He passed away, I think, about 10 or 12 years, 15 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And Ryan Lambert
is Rudy.
Yes. See, I can't read my shit. Ashley Bank is Phoebe. Michael Faustino as Eugene, which is David Faustino's little brother, who played
And it's
Bud
crazy.
Bundy in Married with Children. And then Michael also had some cameos in Married with Children.
If you look at him when he was younger, he doesn't look like his brother. But if you go on, if you Google right now Michael Faustino and look at him, you think that they've accidentally put up David Faustino's picture on IMDb or whatever, because it looks just like him. They look very similar now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So yeah, that's the crew.
Yeah, and I think this was most of their first movies, because like Mike said, they just did a lot of TV and commercials and shit.
Yeah.
And then to me, that's what made the movie even better, because you had a bunch of new faces, new kids, and then plus they had that chemistry that we all had with our friends growing up whenever we were 10, 12 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were the misfit outcast kids. They were just big into horror movies. The one kid was just the cool kid in school, but I guess he dug monsters and shit. Like you guys said, he really didn't show a whole lot to offer till the end, whenever all the vampstresses start walking up through there, and he starts walking off the porch and off by the church, and they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm in the goddamn club, aren't I?" Then he just starts fucking shooting vampires and shit.
Yeah.
That was a pretty pimp scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's almost identical to the opening scene where Van Helsing and them storm the castle and they start shooting it's a very, very similar.
It's fucking great.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think all the actors on this did a great job. It was just that they were unknown, and it plays a part in Hollywood, and that star factor does matter. I mean, you can't just have Iron Man and it be some random dude off the street. He might be a good actor and he might do a good job, but he's not fucking Robert Downey Jr. He's not going to sell it to a mainstream audience. Right. And if you're trying to make a big blockbuster film, sometimes you need that star power. And it was just they didn't bring anybody in. This was like the C list, after all the Goonies and Stand By Me people and all that. It's like you didn't have any of those people that people would be able to be familiar with, recognize or anything like that. So, like I said, they did a great job. I give them props. But as far as making the film a hit, it was a detriment, I think.
Yeah, I think they all were looking for a much bigger payoff after this came out with getting parts and other things, but it did not work out for them.
Yeah, it's a shame because a lot of people, because it did so much, it failed at the box office. They equate that to it being a failure in general, but it's not. That's why it lives on now, because you can go back and look at it and say, oh, this was great acting, fun movie, and all that, and it still be appreciated. But back then they were like, this flopped. We suck, and that we just want to forget it ever even existed. And so they just kind of tucked their heads and forgot about it until 20 years later, whenever the internet pops off and it's like, hey, you've got a fan base. People love this film, and they're like, holy shit.
And at one time, I believe this was supposed to be getting a remake a few years back. But luckily it didn't happen. But it's hard to say. And it's not saying that it still won't get remade, but I hope it doesn't.
Yeah, you should leave it alone. It could be cool, but Mike already said, Stranger Things is probably the closest you could get to doing a Monster Squad show or movie. Yeah. So I mean, what would be the point? Be the same similar fucking, leave it alone. Well,
then also they were going to do a sequel, because Shane Black wanted to do a sequel 30 years later as where the monsters came back, and then the original cast was going to come in and do the whole thing over again, but he didn't get the green light.
That could be all right.
I'd be cool with that.
Because is Dracula even dead? I mean, he got the stake in the heart, but he didn't really die. Like
Well, I mean, Van Helsing got him, so he's in limbo.
He's in limbo, but you don't die in limbo apparently because Van Helsing wasn't dead.
Right?
How does he come back out of limbo to get him?
Maybe this is why I didn't get the green light.
And then he's like, "Yeah, the big thumbs up." Like what? So corny. It was bogus. But oh man, such a fun and goofy film.
Oh yeah.
If you got to go and watch, if you're a fan of this, if you haven't watched it, you got to watch the Wolfman Has Nards documentary.
It's very good.
That Andre Gower did. Covers the whole fandom of everything and the reemergence of this film in pop culture. And it just gives a lot of detail into the film and everything like that. You know, what the cast is doing nowadays, for the most part. It's a shame that Brent Challam died at such a young age. You know, his character probably has the best story arc of anybody in the film. You know, where he's the kid that's getting bullied by the guys at school, and you know, he gets picked on, and then he comes full circle to where he kills the Gill Man, and he's like the hero. He's like, I'm Horace with the shotgun, you know, and it's like, yeah, hell yeah, he gets that vindication. Yeah. So I think if that actor would be around today, he would be loving the fact that this is such a popular thing now.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't diabetes have a play in his dying?
He got none of that. He got pneumonia and went to the hospital.
Pneumonia. Okay, yeah.
But it wasn't the pneumonia. The fucking doctors gave him the wrong medication. They gave him medication that killed him.
Oh, it's kind of like that. That's pretty much what happened to Rabies from Warzone back in the day. Like, he was straight as just could be and shit. And fucking, he got sick, went to the hospital. He was allergic to some shit they gave him, fucking killed him.
Yeah. So it's fucked up. So hopefully their family got a huge fucking paycheck out of that, because that's fucked up shit, man.
Yeah, no shit.
You killed our boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, doctors can fuck you. What's some of your favorite scenes in this? Like, for me, it's always when fucking Phoebe brings Frank up from the water and they all fucking take off running like a Abbott and Costello film whenever Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
Right.
Yeah.
Like all the little homages in this movie are fucking great.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Come on, guys, he's our friend. Don't be chicken shit." And then fucking Sean comes walking out and they're like, "Sean, he's a monster. What are you doing?" And then fucking Rudy's like, "Go get him." And then he's like, "Are you dead?" He's like, "Are you dead?" Which is the clip we saw at the end of our intro.
That was the clip of the week a while back.
Yes. Like, that's one of my fucking favorite scenes in that whole fucking movie. Like, me and Dave will sit there and fucking laugh for like the next 3 scenes.
Yeah.
After we rewind it about 20 times.
Yeah.
You know,
don't be chicken shit.
Don't be chicken shit. It's
adorable.
Cracks me up every time.
Yeah. It's like kids do the darndest things.
That's that's a good scene.
I pretty much explained most of my favorite scenes, and there's a lot of good ones. Even through all the bullshit, like there's just, once you put that away, like there is so many fun scenes though in this movie. If I had to narrow it down to like my favorite scene, I'm gonna say the Wolfman. I would say that all the Wolfman scenes are my favorite scenes.
And out of that,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, out of that comes the infamous Wolfman Has Nards scene.
Yep.
You know, that's probably the most memorable scene of the film.
For me, it is "Give me the amulet, you bitch."
Yeah. I love that shot. I love that shot too. Whenever he's like, he does the hiss or whatever, and the lighting and everything on his face.
See, that's the scene I was thinking of. That's a good scene.
Well, they said that was her real reaction because she didn't know he was going to do that, and it scared the living piss out of her.
That's the shot where she screams is from him hissing at her. Whenever he calls her a bitch, she wasn't even there for that. Because she was saying that because the children actors only can work so many hours a day or whatever, they filmed that after the fact. Plus, I think there was a issue with an adult calling a 5-year-old girl a bitch.
See, I wondered that.
Right.
But yeah, she wasn't even there for that. She said she went back and watched the film later on and saw it. She's like, "Oh, there's a whole other side to the scene that I never even knew about." But the line itself is great, but I love the fact that you see that lighting and his face transform to where it's like, oh, that's the Dracula. That's the Dracula we've been waiting to see. Yeah. And I think that whole end scene, the climax in that town square, it's probably the best scene of the film, because you have so many elements come together and it's just well shot. And the goofiness has gone away. And it's like, now we got to fucking really kill the creatures. We got to save the day type shit. And it plays out so well.
It is. It's like everybody's together. So it's like, here's the final stand.
Yeah.
It's
the showdown,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's like you got Rudy staking these bitches. You got Horace blowing away the Gill Man. You got Sean staking Dracula. So it's like, they stepped up and they're actually killing the monsters. So
and then Sean and his dad blow up Wolfman, and then Rudy shoots him with a silver bullet.
Yeah. And you got Phoebe and Frankenstein, which, a lot of people, love this scene where he, goes off into the limbo, and, it's such an emotional scene between her and him. And she has that teddy bear that her mom gave her to protect her at night. So she throws it to him to protect him in limbo. So it's a touching little emotional scene that a lot of people love.
Phoebe.
As a kid, I cried my ass off at that. And my daughter, when she was little and I had her watch it, she was 5. And she cried at that part.
Yeah,
so
that's sad.
Yeah, like now as an adult though, I'm like, that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Because
don't lie, you cried. Just
the other night. These days, just a little.
One tear.
These days, I don't get.
No, it's okay. I thought you were getting teared up right there just a minute ago, thinking about it.
See, that's what I mean. Like, this is a really good movie to introduce somebody into horror, though, too, because it shows you that the monsters and anyone, especially being a kid, can get along. Like, you're not really like scared. Like anytime there was kids involved, whenever I was a kid watching these films, like they didn't really scare me, because I'm like, well, these kids are fucking dealing with this shit. Like, I can man up and do it too.
Sure.
You know what, fellas? I think science is cool.
I dig it, man.
Yeah. No, it's a fun film.
Sean and the guy call her Meow Mix.
Yeah.
She's got a head like a cat.
Somebody actually like said I do, and the preacher was okay with it.
You mean someone kisses her at night? Meow, meow.
A lot of people have. A lot of people give it shit about the sister being slut shamed for not being a virgin. I don't feel like, I was like, why was that slut shaming? They're not like calling her a slut. They're just saying, hey, we need a virgin to recite this, and you're not a virgin. Like, what the hell?
But the whole thing is though, when she's like, well, no, not really. Like she's mainly a virgin, but she's not. And they're like, what do you mean? You're what? Like,
there's Steve, but he don't count. Doesn't count.
Yeah,
that must have been just the tip moment. I don't know.
That's what I was thinking. It was just like, yeah.
And that was the best thing. That was the best scene for Robbie Keeger as Patrick, where he's like, that, like you said, doesn't count. That that timing. He did a great job there.
He really did. You can't forget about Eugene writing the fucking letter to the army guys, and then they actually show up.
All right, where are the monsters?
Like, what
man.
Which one of you guys is Eugene? All right,
you know
where
what?
they at?
You know what I always loved was I think it's Pete the dog.
Pete's great.
Oh my gosh, I love that little dog.
Monsters don't like Twinkies.
My house.
No, it can't remember.
So yeah,
it's a classic.
Wolfman has nards.
He does. They had to wear pants back then, so you wouldn't see his wolf dork. They use that word a lot, because even whenever they're asking the sister if she's a virgin, he's like, "What your brother is so generously trying, or so, what's he say? The word so delicately trying to ask is, have you or have you not ever been dorked? And he's just like,
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in their clubhouse, there's a camera pointed right at her bedroom window.
right. You mean that girl's your fucking sister?
What's the deal with this camera just pointed at this woman's window?
And Frank snaps the money shot.
Yeah.
Bogus.
Bogus.
Give me a break.
Oh, man.
Anything else you guys like to talk about this film here?
I think it speaks for itself. You know, like we said, it's goofy. So many plot holes, you can't take it serious. Because if you sit there and try to take it serious, like I've been breaking it. Yeah, you're just gonna be like, oh, this is a fucking film that doesn't make any sense. And like, nope, that's not the point. Which I like picking it apart because it's funny to me. Like those plot holes are funny.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's like, this makes no sense, but it cracks me up. But so don't take it serious. If you haven't seen it, I don't know why the fuck you're watching this, but
if you want to give your kids a horror experience and introduce them, give them a watch.
Definitely. You know, even now, the PG-13 doesn't matter now. You know, the stuff that's in there, that's not that big a deal. It wasn't a big deal back then, but you know, they were harder on the ratings back then and actually enforced them, I think.
Right. So last thoughts on the film?
Do what?
Last thoughts?
Amazing fun time to watch.
One of my favorites still, probably forever.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I say. Like we talked about, it's goofy. There's definitely a lot of holes if you try to break it down into real life aspects and just, I don't know, like you can't get any better than just watching a fun movie, just sitting back and just bullshitting.
Yeah.
Like you're going to laugh regardless.
It's one of those films that for people our age or people that grew up in the 80s, it's always going to have that place in your heart. That it's going to have that nostalgia factor. And the great thing about it is if you do it right and you introduce it to your children or whoever, you know, a younger generation, then you'll be able to carry on that tradition, that nostalgia with them as well, where they're younger and you introduce them to like horror stuff. This could be a platform to introduce them to a whole genre of horror, you know, that they might go on to love. And it's like, it starts here. And, you know, it's going to be one of those timeless classics that's a cult classic, and it's never going to get the due it's deserved in Hollywood or as far as the mainstream goes, but it's going to live on forever in the hearts of the fans.
Right.
True. Well said.
Beautifully put. Yes. As always, though, we do have clips of the week. Dave reloaded the generator.
He's been quiet over there tonight.
Yeah, he's a little wrapped up. So let's see what we got this week. What the fuck?
In California. Huh?
The fuck? I don't know what the fuck that was, but I'm about to see what clips he uploaded in there because I gotta watch that fucking movie.
Right.
That looks fucking great.
Kind of curious about it
A little bit.
Today is Friday in California.
Great. Nowhere else, just in California.
Just in California.
Yeah.
Shoot. It was like a recreation of the police station scene from Monster Squad where a guy just pops up and shoots.
But that is the wrapped up Monster Squad episode. I can't believe we're on number 83 already.
No.
This shit's fucking bonkers.
You know what they told the Mummy the day that he finished filming this movie?
What?
That's a wrap.
Ah. But fucking dad jokes. I love them.
Right.
So what do you boys have going on this week and every week?
Oh, the good old things. Stop on over YouTube, Leasure Trading Company. You check it out. I might have some new footage coming up. I just got back from California. Hit up a few cool, interesting spots, and hopefully I can get the goddamn footage up on there. I got some catch up to do. But yeah, you can check that out if you like.
Fellers?
I'll go next. Hi, I'm Chuck.
Welcome, Chuck.
Yeah, so I got a couple of books out for people like them extreme horror reads. My novella Thirsty, my novel House of Flesh, and Sludge, the anthology that I do with Stuart Bray and Jason Nickey, all on Amazon. If you like the gross and disturbing, you'll enjoy. Let's see. My band Bastard Sons of a Judas Code, we're done with our album. We're getting ready to put it out. We're going to release, we got to record, reverse it. We're going to film a music video for the single and then put out the album. There's that. And then podcast-wise, we have Graveyard Talk, Nasty Nation, which all this stuff, check out like on Facebook and all that. You got links, right?
Yeah.
So
Links below.
So you can look at all that shit. But what else? That's all I really care to talk about at this point in time. We could also talk about how this past weekend I saw Pantera at Louder Than Life and it was awesome. But that's about it.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I see what yesterday you guys did Murder Size.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Oh, we did a
couple of days ago.
Well, we did it a little while ago. We put it out, yeah.
So yeah, that was what I was going to mention. I've got a shoot planned with Miss Jessa Flux, she's the lead of Murder Size. So, and I may actually be going up to Cleveland this weekend to Cinema Wasteland.
Hey.
So they're playing some stuff up there, and she's going to be up there. But hopefully, our shoot's going to be the end of next month. This is October, or will be.
It will be October.
Yeah, so the 26th of October. So, and her movie just got put on Tubi, so that's why we were putting that episode out.
Yeah.
So,
and I gotta give a good shout out to Paul Ragsdale for sending me a Blu-ray copy of the film, and I love it. I've been wanting to see the movie forever. We finally got to watch it a while back, and I plan on giving another rewatch here soon. It's good shit.
Right on.
Wow. Cinema Wasteland, man. I haven't heard that in a while. I went to that convention like 20 years ago almost. I remember. It was like one of the first ones they did up in Cleveland or the Cleveland area, and they had like the whole cast of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Got to meet them. That was cool.
Nice.
I've never been. A friend of mine lives up there, and then Jessa was talking about that she's going to be up there this year. So I was like, well, it's almost within our driving distance that I might go up and check it out, but we'll see.
I went back in the good old days, man, where you could go to the conventions and it was just a small, intimate venue where you have all these actors and stuff from the films, and you could just basically chill with them all day because they're just sitting there, and it was like $5-10 to get an autograph or a picture.
The good old days.
The good old days. Now it's like, oh, everybody wants $100 a pop, and it's a big production, and not as fun. But
yeah, like I remember back in the day when we first went, like 20 some years ago, to fucking Horrifying, and Kane Hodder was $10. Now he's 50.
Yeah.
Like it just shows you
it's a different world.
It really is. Well, there you have it, folks. That's the episode for the week.
Well, wait a minute. What's going on next week?
So, what is it? October 7th, the new Exorcist comes out. So, next week, we are going to be doing the original Exorcist film as on Chuck's shirt. He wore it for the occasion. What were you guys talking about?
I'll be wearing it next week too.
There we go.
I
Wear it all week
wash
long.
I might wash it from this
Maybe.
something next. Maybe. Possibly.
Right.
We'll do it. But yeah,
Right.
October's kicking off. Let's kick it off right with the classic Exorcist film.
The OG, OG.
The OG, the good shit. The new one's coming out. It's probably going to suck, but
It looks bad.
Yeah,
It looks bad.
it looks bad.
But let's start off October right with the scares. Ooh, the Exorcist coming right at you here on the Video Store Clerks.
So there you have it. We're the video
Oh,
store.
yeah, brother.
That's Dave. I'm Chad, man.
I'm Mike.
I'm Chuck.
This is Whitman.
Chad,
Another
do you have-
show. Huh?
Do you have something on your face?
I don't think so. I don't think so. We'll be back next Tuesday with The Exorcist. Down below, we have the links for Leasure Trading Company. We have the links for Chuck Nasty. Check him out on Amazon. Follow him. You'll get all the new pop-ups for his new books coming out. And also check out Bastard Sons of a Judas Goat and Whitman Photography. We will see you next week
See you
from
next-
Georgetown.
See you
Where
next.
we'll be hanging out with Linda Blair.
See you next.
See you next Tuesday.